my friends. Welcome to the International Forum Orders of Love for Success in Life. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our guest, Alemka Dauskardt. Alemka is a psychologist with postgraduate degree in psychology from Europe and Australia. As a psychologist, she first encountered family constellations in 1995 as part of her Gestalt therapy studies. Alemka established a Croatian Association for Systemic Constellations, Konstelacija, to provide support and resource for everyone interested in family constellation work. She was a principal organizer of 2 international gatherings of systemic constellators in Croatia. Hi, Alemka.
Hi, Victoria. Good to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation.
I'm so happy you're here today, and I'm very much impressed with the tremendous amount of time and effort you put in promoting family constellations work. I know you translated a book, this one, right? Love's Hidden Symmetry. And I know that there are many others books that include word of love, touching love, supporting love, love's own truths, path of love, right? So many books about love. Let's talk about love today. Is it okay with you?
Wonderful. I'd love to talk about love. That's my favorite topic. And it is all about love, isn't it?
Yes. And I think it's important to talk about that because not everyone can connect topic of love to family constellations. I know that some people believe that family constellations is about trauma, different sort of trauma. Early childhood trauma, generational trauma, transgenerational trauma, but not so many people talk about love. And now my first question, you choose this book, Love, Hidden Symmetry, to translate. Why specifically this book? And what is Love's Hidden Symmetry? What is that about?
Well, this particular book was one of the first that was published on family constellations. I think it was actually the first book in English, which was published in, I think, 98. And it became very, very popular. It has been only the German edition of this book has been sold in over 150,000 copies. And it has been translated into, I think, over 20 languages. It has been very popular and read all over the world, and it is like a seminal text on family constellations, which is really like a textbook and has been a textbook for many generations of constellators, because it describes the basics of family constellation. It gives a lot of transcripts from seminars, so people who didn't have the opportunity to experience it in those early days when it wasn't so widespread, could actually have the feeling like they are participating in a seminar. And then there were a lot of systemic dynamics and situations, life situations described in this book. And also how to deal with difficulties in our lives, or how family constellations deal with different difficult situations that people encounter in their lives. So yes, it wasn't a difficult choice for me to translate particularly that book, and I'm very happy that I did it. And it was clearly a labor of love too. because it took 10 years to actually translate the book and look for different publishers. And then when I couldn't find the publisher, I decided to publish myself, really. So, yes, I founded this association, and through that, the book got published, and a lot of people from this part of the world, not only in Croatia, but Serbia, Bosnia, they can read Croatian and understand it. Many have learned from this book. Yes, so it's, as I said, it was a labor of love, not much material return, but a lot of satisfaction and a lot of I think putting my knowledge and what I have received from Bert Hellinger mainly, and what I have learned from living in different countries and being exposed to this work, that I could bring that to people who don't speak maybe English and who speak just Croatian. So it is, I think it tells something about the essence of this work. It touches something in us, and it makes us want to spread love and to put ourselves in the service for, service of life, service to others. So that's a bit about the book, and the topic of love, or the title, Love's Hidden Symmetry, could be a bit strange at first to people who are not familiar with this work, because we often don't associate love with symmetry. It is really about these forces which operate in our lives, and specifically in our relationships, which Bert Hellinger has discovered, and we call them today systemic forces. He called them originally the orders of love. So they were like, it also sounded strange, because also we don't associate order with love. What do order and love have to do with each other? We know that, love we associate with romantic love or with a feeling, and we either, fall in love or we don't. And it's like in the hands of the Cupid, the the angel with an arrow.
Exactly.
Yes, of course, this is about different kind of love. Hellinger has discovered that there are laws which we need to follow if we want love in our life. And if we want our loving relationships to be successful, we have to follow certain orders, because love itself follows certain orders, and it is very exact, we could say. So something that was so, we could say, fluffy and difficult to describe or to quantify, or we couldn't see any order or any regularity in, say, in our loving relationships or in our marriages or romantic influences or, intimate relationships that were happening or falling apart, where we couldn't find really any regularity. Hellinger actually did see how exact really these forces are, and how they force us to do things a certain way if we want love in our life, and if we want health, and if we want success. Then we have to put ourselves into, or bring ourselves into harmony with these natural laws of life. So he showed us, or he discovered really, that love follows certain rules, that life follows certain rules, that there are natural orders, and that we humans can do or need to do only one thing if we want good, loving relationships, and everyone wants that, we need to bring ourselves in tune with these orders or natural laws. We need to be in harmony with them. Once we are in harmony with them, then our loving relationships can thrive. If we are not in harmony, if we go against these forces, then our relationships will not succeed. And then he proceeded to describe exactly what these natural forces or natural laws are, how they operate in a couple relationship, how they operate in children-parent relationship, how they operate in our professional environments. He described exactly how they work and what we need to do in order not to have difficulties and to be successful. So that's an amazing achievement, I think.
Yes, it is. You mentioned that there are different types of love, romantic love, right? And universal love. And also, there is a new term, blind love. And I'm pretty much sure that a lot of people know nothing about blind love. Would you like to tell a little bit about this yes. type of love?
Yes, I actually think most people know about blind love.
They don't know that they can relate this term to that, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, also what we have discovered through Hellinger's constellations, or what were some of his major insights into love and into our relationship, was that we can of course not be viewed as individuals. We are always in relationship with other people, with our families, with bigger systems. Hellinger's insights went a step further to discover that, or to describe that we really, like, a family is, okay, we call it a system, but it's like one organism, really. Mm-hmm. So we cannot survive without without one leg or one arm, say, for example, yeah, or we would be greatly affected. Yes. So in the same way, the family system is very sensitive to someone being excluded, to something being out of balance. The whole system reacts. So it took me a bit of experience with family constellation to actually start seeing myself not just as me, but okay, I'm just simply a part of my family. Not only that, I carry all my family members within my energetic field, also in my body, especially my mother and my father. They are all in my body. And it's really, in Hellinger's constellations, we can really not say I, because what is that, and what is individual identity? There's so much in it. But anyway, back to love and blind love. So these strong connections, that not only connections, but we are our families.
Right. Exactly.
We are walking families. We carry within us everything that happened in our family, and every family member, everyone who ever belonged to our family, we carry them in us, literally in our bodies, yeah? Or we can say in energetic fields. And Hellinger understood that every member, particularly a child, is connected to other family members with unbreakable ties, and with a very strong love, which really is a need to belong. So with very, very strong love, which ensures our belonging to this community of people without whom we could not survive. And he used to write, there's nothing that a child couldn't do for their parents. And often children do things unconsciously out of deep love for their parents, just in order to be safe and to belong and to be sure that they are going to be looked after. So sometimes from that space, children take on even illnesses from their parents and some burdens from their parents, for example, or some very not so healthy family values and convictions. So children take that on themselves. It's like their soul is saying, in order to belong to this family, I have to be unhappy as well, or I have to be poor, or I have to be ill. And because they want to be so connected with their parents, they also say, unconsciously, of course, in themselves, dear mom, it's better that I become ill than you. Or dear dad, I will help you carry your sadness. This is what a child's soul is unconsciously speaking. And these unconscious messages, this is what really Hellinger discovered, and why they happen and in what way they are linked with love, really. And this is what he called blind love. It is blind because it's these impulses are unconscious. The child cannot do anything to defend itself from it. And sometimes these unconscious impulses lead to illness or unsuccessful relationships later on, or lots of difficulties. So Hellinger also has found out how to turn this blind love into the love that sees, so into the healthy love, so that we stay connected with our families, that we still have the same right to belong, but how we can, in a sense, trick this family soul into okay, belonging to this family, being connected, but being connected with a love that sees and which is not damaging for us, but which is good. But there are all these intricacies of these systemic forces and systemic dynamics and how they work in our families. And Hellinger has really showed it to us and mapped this uncharted territory so far, for us, so that we know what is happening on this unconscious level of the soul, really.
Well, do you think this book is just for professional, for family constellators, for psychotherapists, or anybody would be able to understand what Hellinger would like to say?
Well, I think its popularity says enough. It's read so widely, and surely it is not only for professionals or not only for those who work with others. It is for everyone. Because what it really is about, it's about, as I said, laws of life. It's about really teaching us about some basics of life and relationships and how it all works. And it's talking about something that we all have to negotiate through our lives, which is belonging to our families, which is growing up, which is how we negotiate partnerships or forming our own family, how we are in relation to our children. how we are as children towards our parents. It just talks about like very essential, basic life situations that we all have to deal with through the course of our life, and it gives insight to so many life situations, like, for example, adoption, or difficulty in partners' relationship. What is needed between a man and a woman to form a lasting bond? How do we grow up? What kind of dynamic we have to, or path we have to negotiate in relation to our parents, in order to grow up and to be able to separate. So it's like there's so much in it and so many different life situations that, yes, it affects everyone. Not everyone, of course, will be drawn to read about it. It also, reading this book starts a process in us as well. It touches these issues in ourselves. So for some that might not be comfortable, but it is really, as I said, it's it's a textbook for professionals, but it is also a map, a guide through our lives and through these invisible dynamics and this symmetry which lies behind love, and these laws of life which we don't know about, and which unconsciously work in our life, and we unconsciously kind of sense them, but we don't know about them, and no one teaches us about them. They don't teach us at school about this, and it's often we end up in a mess with our lives, and we don't know why we found ourselves on a particular path, and why are we living a particular life, why do we have a particular fate. And we often wonder, why does this happen to me, and how I've got a bad luck, with this illness or with this accident. Or we are really at sea as to, understanding. We don't know how love operates and how our relationship operates on this soul level, which is the level which determines everything, I would say. So this is, Hellinger is really teaching us about it, and I think it's like a basic education. Yes, I would have it as obligatory in starting from primary school to to university or wherever. So these are it's a school of life, and it is amazing that we know so little about it. And to me, it's no wonder really that, we as society, we know. We are at a loss, we see it these days, how to deal with so many issues, I don't want to go into details now and mentioning different life situations, but it is, we don't know really how to find an appropriate response to so many life situations, like euthanasia, like abortion, like, we just all, like wars, health, what that is about, so nature, relationship to nature. It's just so many issues that we don't respond appropriately to. And why? Because we don't know about these natural laws and forces which lie behind everything. So we just have these discussions about everything from our head, and that only takes us that far.
Right. Now I have a question. You mentioned that it took a while for you to digest this information and then realize that you part of your family system, you part of your culture, you part of your society, you part of your country. And did this insight change something in your life? I mean, did this realization made some effect on your life, your personal life, your professional life?
Yes, absolutely. It's changed everything. My first, like attending my first constellation workshop changed everything, changed my life. So I could clearly say that. Yeah, from then on, I even then at that first workshop, I did some personal work and continued from then on, on this path of personal growth and looking at my own issues in this way. And if I didn't do that, I don't know if I would be here today. So it was, yes, it was that strong. I encountered constellation work first when I was living in Australia. That was 94, I think 95, as part of my Gestalt training. Judith Hemming, who is a known facilitator of constellations, came there and was facilitating this work and introducing it to us. But anyway, what I was going to say is I was at the point where I was in a different country, to the other side of the world, of my family, my country. I was struggling with I could say depression and very low life energy, and it was just really difficult, and was going beyond these settlement in a new country issues. So I was constellation work really helped me to reconnect with myself, to reconnect with my family, who I haven't distanced myself only physically, but in other ways as well, and to my country, which was also very important to me. And yes, later as a practitioner, I have learned how important it is that we are connected well, or that we are grounded well in not only in our bodies, but in our families, with our parents, with our ancestors, and with countries of our birth as well. So once I was able to do that with the help of this work, I became much stronger, and I was able to assist the people I was working with as a psychologist in a professional capacity much better. I saw the power of this work, and it was so effective and took much less time and sometimes resolved long-standing issues for people in just one session, which lasted half an hour or 45 minutes. And I saw that I became very much more efficient as a therapist or as a helper, and I was working with some difficult issues. I was working for the foundation for the survivors of torture and trauma. I was working with the traumatized, tortured people, with migrants, with family violence issues, sexual abuse issues. So there were difficult themes, and suddenly I saw that through family constellations I could be much more effective in assisting those who were coming to ask for my service. So yes, it changed everything, and then I kind of moved gradually, but I would say with some determination and almost the sense of calling, I moved away from psychology as a profession, from even psychotherapy as a modality, and away from the ways that I used to work, into just doing being a full-time constellation practitioner and doing only this type of work, and then teaching it as well. So yeah, it just then after 20 years of being living in Australia, I came back to my country. So I'm living in Croatia now again. And yeah, And I'm doing this work, which has really become I could easily say centerpiece of my life. It's something that I feel passionate about, and often people say that they feel drawn to it, that they feel called to do this type of work. And yeah, since 1994, so I have been doing just that. So I could easily say now I have devoted a good part of my life to this knowledge and Hellinger's insights, living them, applying them to my own issues, and teaching, helping others and teaching others how to assist others again. So it's like since I encountered it, it changed all aspects of my life.
Do you have some educational programs or trainings for people? If people have questions or need help, how they can reach you, find you?
Yes, I've got the website. Through that, it's the easiest way to reach me, and I hope you will write it somewhere, or people
Yes,
will be able to see it. So people can always see the website. It's mainly in Croatian, but there is English section as well. Yes. Together with Max, I used to run these programs and workshops and trainings in different countries, but now everything has changed. We don't travel anymore due to the situation, so very little programs we do now in person. So what I do now mainly is I do everything online, and I do have individual sessions online and like teaching seminars online as well. Right now in Croatian only, but I'm hoping in like next year to offer it in English as well.
And also, I know you have a Facebook group, right? Family Constellation by Bert Hellinger. You created this group, and I truly enjoy reading posts, your posts or your comments in that group. Just because you're doing all this stuff, I assume that you see the importance of this knowledge, and actually you already partly or shared why it's important. And one more thing, before I attended my very first seminar in Bad Reichenhall, I was thinking that family constellation, this is part of psychotherapy, and just psychotherapists should do this work and learn about that. But now you're telling that you stopped doing psychotherapy and you just moved towards family constellations. My question is, so this knowledge just for psychotherapists who are working as psychotherapists or have degree in psychotherapy, or anyone can apply this knowledge in their profession, whatever they're doing?
Yes, exactly. I'm glad you mentioned it. It is important. I mean, it started within that field, and very much when we think about, okay, someone has an issue and they come to a professional, and then they have some therapy, and they get better or not or whatever. When we think in those terms, yeah, that's like what we call psychotherapy. But actually, constellations. Apart from, yes, there is a person who has some issue who would like some assistance with that, and apart from, okay, there's a facilitator who puts themselves and says, okay, I can assist you maybe with that, it has very, very little in common with psychotherapy. The principles are different, how we approach how we approach the work itself, how we approach the person who comes to us, what is the atmosphere or the attitude needed for the work, how the work is conducted. A lot is different actually from psychotherapy, and it's good not to think of it as such. It is, so yes, it is for everyone, not just psychologists or social workers or those who we often associate of working in helping professions. It is not only for them, it can be learned and practiced by anyone, regardless of their occupation or profession. It can be applied in every setting. Clinic, organization, school, anywhere, really. Anyone can benefit from it, anyone. So not just those who we often associate with, those who need, psychotherapy. Anyone could benefit. And it is really, if we think about it as something that helps us to align ourselves with natural forces. This is what it does. So facilitator is here only to facilitate that process, and it's not really doing much. And we could all benefit from this kind of movement and from this alignment. So it is for everyone, and I think that it is this insights, the knowledge, the method too, but not only method itself, but these insights, really, this knowledge is something that needs promotion. We need to promote that. And this is what I also put myself in service of, so promoting these insights and knowledge and the way how we can reach it.
Do you...
Sorry, I just remembered that when in one interview they asked Hellinger, is it psychotherapy? He said, no, it's not psychotherapy, and I wouldn't call myself a psychotherapist. And the interview asked, well, how would you call yourself? And he said, someone who is in service of life. And that is so beautiful, isn't it? And it is so wide. It is so wide. And I think he himself truly was in service of life and of others. Clearly, he devoted his life to that. And I think all of us can put ourselves into that service. It would be a good, worthy life goal, isn't it? To put ourselves in the service of life. So if we approach the work like that, and if we approach our clients or seekers or people who come with an issue to us, with that attitude, then we are following in the footsteps of Hellinger, and I think we are getting the essence of his approach. And yes, I started this Facebook group, which really, with the idea that we nurture this kind of approach to constellation work, because it spreads so widely and there are so many people doing it and in different ways and approaching it in a different way. So I really would like to kind of nurture this original attitude of Hellinger's towards life and towards others, which is so beautiful and enriching, and it gives me a lot, and I'm sure it gives others a lot. So yes, it's for everyone who is interested in this type of work, or to learn more about it, or to contribute.
Thank you, Alemka. You described this Hellinger work and Hellinger approach in such a beautiful way, and I truly hope that people will read more books by Bert Hellinger. They will attend seminars and incorporate this knowledge in their life. And probably we should add why it's important for people. Why would they want to do that? what kind of benefit they can get from that. Because we know how it changed our lives, right? You have your story, I have my story. And just because we were introduced to this work, because we went through this experience, not just from reading books, but that's a real experience. For those who had never had this experience, they understand that it's something, it could be something good for them, but what exactly what benefit they can receive. And if you have some examples of or success story or something, or how people apply this knowledge in their life, it would be good to share.
Well, we can come back to the beginning, yes, of this conversation. And what is at the beginning? At the beginning is love. We always begin and end with love, and we want it in between. Yes. So this is why people should do this work. You know, the fear of sounding, you know, or the risk of sounding trite. You know, I will say it. We do it all for love. We do it because we want love in our lives. We want to have good, loving relationship with our partners, with our children, with our parents. We want to be in love with life, with our planet, with natural forces around us, with other species. We have to be in love with these all these aspects which are part of our existence. Otherwise, we are not going to be here for much longer. It is clear that love is that which holds us together and which keeps this planet turning. So I think everyone not only should do it or would be good, or they could improve their lives a bit. I think it is essential that we really return to this love and to these natural loving forces which are behind our existence, and to connect with that and to live that more. So it is, of course, connecting with the spirit, connecting with this oneness, connecting with the divine. If we don't restore that connection, we have a very doubtful future, and it's very doubtful if we have future at all. So I think doing this work and re-establishing this connection is a must for all of us at this point in time on this planet. So it is much more than about romantic love and, yes, just having a nice partner relationship, although that's very nice too, but there is much more to it than that. And of course, Hellinger's teaching or Hellinger's insights are all about that as well.
So, thank you. Thank you so much for your insightful stories. Thank you for this conversation about love. To tell the truth, you touch on so many interesting topics. If we have time, I would continue our conversation for hours. And let me ask you, would you be willing to meet again, let's say in several months, and to focus on a specific topic, not just general information?
Absolutely, and I think that's a wonderful idea. I think it's great that you have this initiative, and I think it's you clearly are putting yourself nicely in the service of this knowledge and of life. And yes, it is so big, this body of knowledge that came to us through Hellinger and his insights about not just our family relationship, but national relationship and relationship with nature. I mean, it is very big and all-encompassing. So surely there are a lot of things to talk about, and I would love to be in conversation with you about some of them in the future. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So thank you for today's conversation, and I'm looking forward for our next meeting. But bye for today. I have to say goodbye.
Goodbye. See you soon, Victoria. Thank you once again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.